Hello everyone. Good evening to all of you. How are you all? मतलब कैसे हो आप सब लोग? मेरे को चैट में आप लोग बता सकते हो. आज हम लोग प्रोग्रामिंग जो हम बेसिकली जिसके लिए आप बहुत ज़्यादा मतलब क्यूरियस थे भाई, पहले हमने जो क्लास करी थी थियोरेटिकल ज़्यादा थी. तो आज हम एक्चुअल में प्रोग्रामिंग वाली चीज़ों को शुरू करेंगे. तो आज वी विल स्टार्ट विद C++. ठीक है, तो आज हमारा सेकंड लेक्चर है. हाउ आर यू ऑल? मतलब एक बार बता दो सारे चैट में. आई एम लुकिंग एट द चैट. अमन शर्मा से मॉर्निंग, गुड मॉर्निंग. मतलब चलो अभी जागे हो गए गेस. हाँ, मतलब इसमें हम काफ़ी सारी नई नई चीज़ें सीखेंगे जो आप लोगों को नहीं आती हैं. तो चलो लेट्स स्टार्ट विद द टुडे सेशन. ठीक है, आज की क्लास हम स्टार्ट करते हैं. तो आज की क्लास में स्टार्ट करने से पहले हम एक चीज समझेंगे विच इज बाइनरी नंबर सिस्टम. तो बाइनरी नंबर सिस्टम क्या होता है? मतलब आई नो दैट बहुत लोगों को पता होगा ऑलरेडी बाइनरी नंबर सिस्टम क्या होता है. लेट्स स्टार्ट विद द क्लास. तो आज बाइनरी नंबर सिस्टम सीखना है पहले. तो लेट अस सी व्हाट बाइनरी नंबर सिस्टम एक्चुअली इज. देखो, जो हमारा कंप्यूटर होता है ना, कंप्यूटर डज नॉट अंडरस्टैंड हमारी जो हम नॉर्मल इंग्लिश या फिर हिंदी कन्वर्सेशन जो करते हैं. कंप्यूटर डज नॉट अंडरस्टैंड इट. कंप्यूटर ओनली अंडरस्टैंड्स वन लैंग्वेज एंड दैट इज बेसिकली बाइनरी कोड. So whatever we want to communicate to the system, we do it in binary language or binary code. Right. So let us see how binary number system works. So first of all, we need to understand that there is something which is called as binary number system. There are other number systems as well. Octal hota hai, hexadecimal hota hai. There are many, but the computer uses binary number system. So let us see how it works. For example, do you guys know that if I have a number, let's say 10, and I want to convert this number into a binary number, then how can I do it? Do you know about it? कि हम ये चीज कैसे कर सकते हैं, एक डेसिमल वैल्यू को बाइनरी के अंदर कन्वर्जन वाली चीज. Anyone, any idea? पढ़ा होगा मतलब I'm sure कि you must have read about it. You have an idea about it, right? So how do we do it to converting this particular base 10 into base 2? Yeah. So those who don't know, I'll just explain. So the process is, see, what we do, we basically divide this number by 2. So I'll say that 5 into 2 is 10. So पहला जो हमारी वैल्यू होगी that will be 5. 10 जो हम 2 से डिवाइड करना चाहते हैं 5 पर डिवाइड हो पाएगा. So what is the remainder? Remainder is 0. So we write the remainder over here. After dividing by 2, we write remainder at this particular place. Now what I'm going to do, I'm again going to divide it by 2. So again, if I'll divide it by 2, so 2 into 2 is 4. So it will go by 2. So there will be a remainder of 1. So I'll write remainder 1 at this particular place. I'll again divide it by 2 because we are converting it into a binary number system. See, in binary number system, there are only two possible values, that is 0 and 1. Anything that we want to convert into binary, we can only denote it by 0 and 1. There cannot be any other number which can be present inside this number system. So what we are trying to do, we are trying to convert this particular value into a 0 and 1 format only. So what I'm going to do next, so see, ये 1 पे जाएगा, 2 into 1 is 2. What will be the remainder? It will be 0. So this is how the division is carried out. The next step is we start from the lowest point and हम नीचे से ऊपर की तरफ नंबर को रीड करते जाते हैं. So the number is 1 0 1 0, right? So इस ऑर्डर में अगर मैं मूव करूंगा तो मेरे को जो रिमाइंडर मिले, that is the decimal to binary conversion. Right, so if you convert a binary number to decimal number, so this is decimal to binary number, this is what you will get. So 10 is equivalent to, so 10 in base 10 in decimal format is equivalent to 1010 in base 2. This is how basically we convert a decimal value into binary value, right? So similarly, let's say if I want to convert a number which is 15 into binary, so I'll divide it by 2. So 7 पे जाएगा, 7 into 2 is 14. So there will be a remainder of 1. Again I'll divide it by 2. कितने पे जाएगा? 3 पे जाएगा. So 3 into 2 is 6. So remainder will be 1. 7 में हम divide कर रहे हैं तो remainder 1 आएगा. Again I'll divide it by 2. So what I'll get? I'll 1 पे जाएगा ना, 2 into 1 is 2. So remainder will be again 1. So I'll start from the bottom point and I'll start reading upward. So 1, 1, 1, 1. So 15 in decimal is equivalent to 4 times 1 in binary number system. This is how we convert a decimal value into a binary value, right? So अब ये उल्टा conversion भी आना चाहिए, right? So we have seen how to convert a binary to decimal to binary. Now how to convert binary to decimal? Let's see that. So देखो, if you have a number like this 1010 in base 2, I want to get the value in base 10 again. So I want to convert binary number to decimal. Right, so binary to decimal, I am trying to convert it in this format. So इसमें हम क्या करेंगे? In this, there is a rule that we need to follow. So how do we find the decimal value? Is simple. We multiply it by the 2 raised to the power 0, and this by 2 raised to the power 1, and this by 2 raised to the power 2. So the power increases when we go towards the left side. So this will be multiplied by 2 raised to the power 3. Right, so if I'll do it, so 2 raised to the power 3 into 1 plus anything multiplied by 0 will give me 0 only. So 2 raised to the power 1 into 1. So this will be 2 raised to the power into 1. And anything multiplied with 0 is 0. So plus 0. So what this is going to give me? 8 plus 0 plus 2 plus 0. So this is equivalent to 10. So see, if I want to get my decimal number back from the binary number system, जो भी हमारी value थी, so I can follow this particular procedure, right? So you are asking that why we have taken this base 2 and not any other base, because in system we have only binary numbers that it can understand. So अगर हम binary की बात करते हैं, so in binary the base is 2. Right, there can be only 2 values, right? Binary matlab 2. So it can be 0 or 1. So that's why the base is 2. Right, in decimal, हम जो decimal में digits लिखते हैं 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. In decimal, we can have only 10 digits at max, right? So ये हमारा base 10 में होता है. Binary में we can have at max 2 digits. यहाँ पे 10 numbers बोल सकते हो या digits बोल सकते हो, whatever you may like. Right, 10 numbers or 10 digits. इसके अलावा हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते. In binary we can have only 0 and 1. Whereas in octal there is one more system which is octal. So in octal we can have only 8 numbers. Anything which is present inside octal will be from 0 till 7. देखो यहाँ पे हमारा जो ये binary representation था, it only contains 0 and 1. Similarly, this also contains only 1. There cannot be a 2 which is present inside this particular number. So this is how the process of conversion works. If I want to get a value in some other base, this is how I need to work. Right. So this is important. Why? Because when we'll be working, when we'll be moving forward and we'll be working on programming concepts, then this thing is used very much, right? So you might face a problem in a competition or in your college as well that might ask that how you can solve this problem. So it's very likely that it will be based on binary number system, right? Because system works on binary. So this was all about binary number system. Now let us move towards something which is right. So now let us move towards something that is buckets. राइट, तो अब हम बकेट्स की तरफ चलते हैं. तो बकेट्स में देखो क्या होगा. बकेट्स आर बेसिकली यूज्ड, हमें अगर वैल्यू स्टोर करनी है, to store a particular value we need a bucket. It's very simple. If I want to give एन इनपुट टू द सिस्टम, मुझे इनपुट देना है सिस्टम में, मैं कैसे दूं? सिस्टम उसको कहाँ पे स्टोर करके रखेगा जो मैंने उससे बोला? देयर मस्ट बी सम प्लेस जिसके अंदर वो चीजों को स्टोर कर सके. दैट थिंग इज कॉल्ड एज अ बकेट, और वी ऑल्सो कॉल इट एज अ वेरिएबल. ठीक है, बकेट भी बोलते हैं हम, वेरिएबल भी बोलते हैं. तो दीज आर द थिंग्स जिसके अंदर हम अपनी वैल्यूज को स्टोर कर सकते हैं जो यूजर हमें इनपुट करता है. ठीक है, तो देखो अब हम जो बकेट्स बना सकते हैं, किस किस टाइप की बकेट होती है. ठीक है, तो कौन कौन सी तरह की हमारे पास बकेट्स अवेलेबल होती हैं? जिन्होंने थोड़ा बहुत आइडिया जिनको वो बताना चाहेंगे, कौन कौन सी बकेट्स आपने सुन रखी हैं कि होती हैं हमारे पास? विच ऑल बकेट्स, किस किस तरह की बकेट्स हमारे पास होती हैं? हाँ, तो मयंक हैज गिवन, मतलब इंटर, आई थिंक इंट दैट मींस बूल, डबल. वैभव सेज इंटीजर. अब जय हिंद नाम की बकेट तो नहीं होती है. ठीक है, इंट, कैर, फ्लोट, हाँ बना सकते हो, मतलब उस नाम की बना सकते हो, मगर डेटा टाइप नहीं होता. ठीक है, टाइप पूछ रहा हूँ, किस किस टाइप की बकेट्स होती हैं? तो हमारे पास जो बकेट्स के टाइप्स होते हैं, दैट आर एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट जो आप लोगों ने बोले. हमारे पास होते हैं इंटीजर्स, हमारे पास होते हैं कैरेक्टर्स. हाँ ठीक है, अब हमारे पास इसमें होते हैं फ्लोट वैल्यूज भी होती हैं, बुलियन भी होती हैं. तो हमारे पास डेटा जो स्टोर होता है वो बाइनरी फॉर्मेट में ही स्टोर होता है. तो फॉर एग्जाम्पल अगर मैं एक इंटीजर बकेट बनाता हूँ, तो इंटीजर बकेट एक ऐसे बनती है. ये जो मैंने यहाँ पे लिखी है चीज, इसको हम बोलते हैं एक स्टेटमेंट. ठीक है, हर स्टेटमेंट सी प्लस प्लस के अंदर जो होती है वो सेमी कॉलन से टर्मिनेट की जाती है. एवरी स्टेटमेंट जो भी हम लिखेंगे वो सेमी कॉलन से टर्मिनेट की जाती है. यहाँ पे हमारा बकेट जब हम बनाते हैं तो यहाँ पे हमारा आता है डेटा टाइप, किस टाइप की आप बकेट बना रहे हो. यहाँ पे हमारे पास आता है बकेट का नाम, नेम ऑफ द बकेट. ठीक है, तो अब ये एक स्टेटमेंट है जो मैंने क्रिएट करी है. इस स्टेटमेंट से होता क्या है, एक बकेट बनती है ए नाम की. तो होगा क्या, एक बकेट बनी जिसका नाम ए है और उसका टाइप क्या है, एक इंटीजर. अब मैं इसके अंदर कुछ स्टोर करना चाहूं तो आई कैन डू इट बाय यूजिंग इक्वल्स टू, एंड मैं स्टेटमेंट लिख रहा हूं तो सेमी कॉलन आखिरी में लगाना पड़ता है. तो ए के अंदर मेरा 10 स्टोर हो जाएगा. तो अब हम जो ये कर रहे हैं, तो हमारे पास अलग अलग तरह की बकेट्स होती हैं. इंटीजर होती है, फ्लोटिंग होती है. फ्लोटिंग मतलब 10.11 अगर मुझे स्टोर करना है फ्लोटिंग वैल्यू को, तो आई यूज द फ्लोट बकेट. इसी तरह से अगर मेरे को एक कैरेक्टर स्टोर करना है, ठीक है, फ्लोटिंग वैल्यू है फ्लोट. अगर मेरे को एक कैरेक्टर स्टोर करना है ए बी, कैरेक्टर्स आर रिटन इन सिंगल कोट्स. नोटेड डाउन दैट कैरेक्टर्स आर रिटन इन सिंगल कोट्स. तो ए बी सी, स्मॉल ए स्मॉल बी, नंबर्स भी होते हैं कैरेक्टर्स की फॉर्म में. अगर आप उसे सिंगल कोट्स में लिखो, एट द रेट एक कैरेक्टर है. तो दीज आर बेसिकली कैरेक्टर्स सिंगल कोट्स में जो हम लिखते हैं. अब कैरेक्टर्स हमारे नंबर्स क्यों होते हैं? क्योंकि अब पासवर्ड बनाते हो, फेसबुक चलाते होगे, इंस्टाग्राम चलाते होगे, उसका पासवर्ड बनाते हो. तो आप लोग पासवर्ड के अंदर अपने नाम के साथ साथ मतलब इंटीजर वैल्यू, डिजिट्स वगैरह सब डाल पाते हो ना, फोन नंबर भी डाल पाते हो. क्यों डाल पाते हो? बिकॉज वो सब चीजें कैरेक्टर की तरह भी स्टोर होती है. दैट्स व्हाई वी हैव वन डेटा टाइप विच इज कैरेक्टर. कैर बोलते हैं इसको. ठीक है, एक हमारे पास बुलियन भी होता है. बुलियन मतलब दैट मीन्स ट्रू और फॉल्स. बुलियन मतलब दो ही वैल्यू होंगी, ट्रू और फॉल्स. ठीक है, ट्रू और फॉल्स होता है बुलियन मतलब. तो ठीक है, हमारे पास ये इस तरह की डेटा टाइप्स होती हैं, एंड ये हमारे पास वैल्यूज होती हैं. वेरी गुड. तो अब हम अपने पहले प्रोग्राम को लिखने की तरफ चलते हैं. ठीक है, जो भी हम कोड करेंगे क्लास में, आई विल लेट यू नो आपको वो कोड कहाँ से मिलेगा. तो डोंट वरी अबाउट इट. ठीक है, सारी चीजें आपको मिल जाएंगी. तो चलो, टाइम टू राइट आवर फर्स्ट प्रोग्राम. तो पहला प्रोग्राम हमारा जो होगा, हैश इंक्लूड आईओस्ट्रीम यूजिंग नेम स्पेस. देखो ये हमारा ना बेसिक सिंटैक्स का स्ट्रक्चर है. जब भी प्रोग्राम करोगे ये चीजें तो आपको लिखनी पड़ेंगी. इसके बाद हम लिखते हैं इंट मेन. जो भी हम चीजें लिखेंगे वो मेन के अंदर होता है. फ्लो चार्ट के अंदर हमने पिछली क्लास में एक चीज पढ़ी थी, स्टार्ट. तो इस प्रोग्राम के अंदर जो हमारा स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट होता है वो हमारा मेन फंक्शन होता है. विदाउट मेन फंक्शन हम प्रोग्राम नहीं लिख सकते. ठीक है, तो विदाउट मेन फंक्शन हम प्रोग्राम नहीं लिख सकते। एंड जो लोग नोट्स कर रहे हैं, तो नोट्स की आप चिंता मत करो, वीडियो आपके पास रहेगी। अभी आपको चीज सीखनी जरूरी है, तो आप समझो एंड उसको साथ साथ कोड करते रहो। नोट्स तो आपके पास वीडियो दोबारा होगी, यू कैन वॉच इट अगेन टू क्रिएट नोट्स। नोट्स की दिक्कत नहीं आएगी, एंड वी आर अवेलेबल ऑन डिस्कॉर्ड, तो आपका कोई भी डाउट मतलब खाली नहीं जाएगा, तो डोंट वरी, है ना। तो अब हमारे पास हमने एक मेन फंक्शन बनाया। अब इसके अंदर मैं क्या करता हूँ, सी आउट। देखो मतलब एक चीज होती है जो हम हर प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज को जब भी सीख रहे होते हैं ना, मतलब मस्ट है भाई, ये तो करनी होती है, तो विच इज हेलो वर्ल्ड का प्रोग्राम लिखना। जब भी कोई प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज सीखोगे, तो हेलो वर्ल्ड एक बेसिक मतलब ना कंटेक्स्ट है कि भाई ये करा जाता है, किसी प्रोग्राम को सीख रहे हो तो मतलब जैसे नारियल फोड़ते हैं, तो इसी तरह से हेलो वर्ल्ड लिखना एक शगुन का काम होता है प्रोग्रामिंग के अंदर, तो हेलो वर्ल्ड हम लिखते हैं। अब जिन लोगों के पास, मैंने यहाँ पे जो यूज कर रखा है वो यूज कर रखा है सबलाइम टेक्स्ट। हर एक चीज का मतलब बताऊंगा, डोंट वरी, दिस इज द सिंटैक्स, ठीक है। ये हमारा बेसिक स्ट्रक्चर है जो हमें हर प्रोग्राम के लिए लिखना पड़ता है। अब हर लाइन का क्या मतलब है अभी मैं बताऊंगा, डोंट वरी। बट अभी के लिए हम समझ लेते हैं कि ऐसा कुछ प्रोग्राम हमने लिखा। तो देखो अब होता क्या है, ये वाली जो चीज है ना, देखो ये हमारा एक प्रोग्राम है जो बेसिकली हम चला के देखेंगे। तो देखो अब सबलाइम टेक्स्ट हमारे पास एक एडिटर होता है। हमें दो चीजों की नीड होती है जब हम कोड कर रहे हैं। एक हमारे पास होता है टेक्स्ट एडिटर। टेक्स्ट एडिटर जो मैं यूज करता हूं दैट इज सबलाइम टेक्स्ट। आप नेट पे सर्च मारोगे तो सबलाइम टेक्स्ट आ जाएगा। देन हमारे पास जो कंपाइलर होता है वो होता है हमारा जीसीसी कंपाइलर होता है, जी प्लस प्लस होता है। तो हम इसमें से कोई भी कर सकते हैं, वी हैव मिंजी डब्ल्यू। तो ठीक है, हम मिंजी डब्ल्यू कंपाइलर यूज कर लेंगे, और टेक्स्ट एडिटर हमारा सबलाइम टेक्स्ट है। तो इसके अलावा आप कोड ब्लॉक्स डाल सकते हो। कोड ब्लॉक्स डालना और आसान होता है। तो अगर मैं आपको दिखाऊं, मतलब मोस्ट प्रोबेबली आई एम अज्यूमिंग कि जितने भी यहाँ पे लोग हैं दे ऑल मस्ट बी यूजिंग विंडोज ओनली। तो कोड ब्लॉक्स डाउनलोड पे जाते हैं। अब डाउनलोड्स पे जाऊंगा और मैं इस पे आता हूँ डाउनलोड्स पे, ठीक है। बाइनरी रिलीज पे जाता हूँ, डाउनलोड बाइनरी रिलीज। अब देखो ये वाला सेटअप यहाँ पे ना आपको दिख रहा होगा, एक सेटअप है हमारे पास, कोड ब्लॉक्स 20.03 मिंजी डब्ल्यू सेटअप डॉट ई। आप ये वाली चीज को इंस्टॉल कर लो। इस वाली चीज आपके पास कोई कंपाइलर होगा, डेव सी प्लस प्लस होगा, सबलाइम टेक्स्ट होगा, आप हो सकता है कि कोड ब्लॉक्स के अंदर ऑलरेडी कर रहे हो, इट इज फाइन। जिसके साथ कंफर्टेबल हो वो कर लो, बस टर्बो सी यूज मत करना। टर्बो सी प्लस प्लस डोंट यूज है। यू नीड टू यूज सबलाइम और कोड ब्लॉक्स। विंडोज के लिए कोड ब्लॉक्स इज द बेस्ट थिंग। वीएस कोड भी यूज कर सकते हो, डेव सी प्लस प्लस भी यूज कर सकते हो, जो भी तुम्हारे को कंफर्टेबल लगता है वो यूज करो। अब नेक्स्ट चीज क्या है, देखो ये अगर आपके पास राइट नाउ यू डोंट हैव द install text editor and compiler, so right now you should code, है ना, तो you should focus on code। तो cp.lk/ide के एक आप ब्राउजर पे जाके लिखो। so when you will go to the browser and write cp.lk/ide, so in this case you will come to this particular IDE। तो ये हमारा एक IDE होता है। so you can see there is some basic code which is always which is written over here, and this is the place where you can code right now if you don't have the compiler with you or text editor with you right now. If you are working or if you are already coding, so you must have it. If you don't, go to this, you can code simultaneously side by side on this particular platform. Whatever you write over here, you can run it from this particular point, and अगर हमें input देना है तो हम input यहाँ से दे सकते हैं, आउटपुट आपको यहाँ दिखेगा, सिंपल। तो ये इजी पड़ेगा अभी के लिए, जिनके पास नहीं है, जिनके पास है इट्स वेरी गुड, जिनके पास नहीं है वो यहाँ से कर लो। और इंस्टॉल कैसे करनी है चीजें, डाउनलोड कैसे करना है, मैं एक काम करूंगा, मैं डिस्कॉर्ड के ऊपर ना एक पीडीएफ शेयर कर दूंगा। उस पीडीएफ के अंदर स्टेप बाय स्टेप हर चीज मेंशन्ड होगी कि सबलाइम टेक्स्ट को इंस्टॉल कैसे करना है। तो यू विल गेट ईच एंड एवरीथिंग, डोंट वरी। आप अभी के लिए cp.lk/ide और ide.codingblocks.com पे जाके ओपन कर लो, एंड यहाँ पे यू कैन कोड साइमल्टेनियसली, ठीक है। जिनके पास है इट्स गुड, नहीं है नो नीड टू वरी, कोड ऑन दिस, इस पर साथ साथ चल जाएगा, आपको कोई दिक्कत नहीं आएगी, ठीक है। ऑल राइट, All right, right. The audience mix and merge. Some of you are saying for English, some of you are saying for Hindi. But I think those who are comfortable in Hindi, they might be able to understand English. But जिनको हिंदी नहीं आती उनको दिक्कत होगी. So let's continue in English. Okay, so let's start. So I'll use Hindi in between. So those who are uh, not comfortable with Hindi, don't worry. मतलब जो मैं आपको whatever I'll say, I'll repeat it in English as well. So don't worry. So ठीक है, I hope that you must have opened up this particular URL and you are on the coding blocks IDE. Now let's start with the coding part. Let's try to understand this particular program that we have written over here. See this thing. This is called as a header file. Now see, there is something which is called as, in flowchart we use something which was, if you want to output something, we use this thing, print hello, right? We use this rhombus or parallelogram structure, rhombus structure, right? So this is how we can print, or we can denote that we want to print something in flowcharts. But this thing is not valid in our programming language C++. So we need to find another alternative for this particular thing. So what we use something which is called as cout. So this is the syntax, or this is an alternative for this print statement. We use cout. If I'm writing, or if I want to print something on the console, so this means simply print something on console or output on console. Right, cout means C means console, out means printed or outputted, and this is the syntax that we need to follow. Every language have some rules. So C++ language have some rules. These are very basic rules. This is not something which you will forget, or which you would find very intimidating, that this is something very new. No, this is very easy. You need to know a certain aspects of a language so that you can use it. So this is the way you can output something on console. Another thing is, we used to write something which is called a start. You must remember that we have used flowchart. In flowcharts, we used to have this start block. So this is represented by int main, right? So whatever is denoted by flowchart, there is an alternative for that in programming language, right? So this is the main through which we can start. So you can see that we have written over this point. I have written int main at this point. So this is the starting point. There was something which is called as end as well, right? So alternative for end is return 0. Return 0 means exit or end. We have written this thing in the flowchart as well. Cout means print. Strings are written in double quotes. If I want to print something, if I want to print a string, then we write it in double quotes, because this is a statement. So this statement is terminated by a semicolon. This is very important. Now there's one thing which is called as using namespace std. This means we are using standard namespace. Nothing. This is nothing as such that you need to focus, or this is not something which you should worry about. But this is something which we need to write. Why? So we are using standard namespace. So there is a namespace, and in that particular namespace, keywords have specific meaning. So this cout, the meaning of this cout is to print something on console. So this is denoted in the standard namespace. In standard namespace, it is written that if you want to print something, so cout means you need to print something. So we are using standard namespace. The keywords that we have in main means start, right? So these are some keywords that have specific meanings, and they are written inside the standard namespace, that they have the cout have the meaning of, or cout is an alternative of print. So you don't have to worry about it. You just remember that we are using standard namespace, nothing else. Don't worry about this very much. It's just very common that we use it, right? And let's run this program. So see what I'll do. I'll build this program. So when I'm using this particular text editor, I have something which is called as, I need to build it first. So steps will be mentioned in the PDF that I share, that how to build and how to run a program. Don't worry about it. But when you'll code in IDE, you won't be able to build. You need to press the run statement. So if you'll run the program, it will show you the output. It will compile it and it will run it instantaneously. So first of all, we need to compile it. Compilation converts the code into binary, and that binary file is what we run. So, or sorry, that executable file. Binary is basically an executable file which is run on the machine. So I have converted it into the binary. So I'll see which all files are available. I'll go inside lecture one. I'll list. So see, I have one thing which is called as test.cpp because I have created one file which is test.cpp. After I build this file, I get one more file which is test. This is the executable file that I need to run. So what I'll do, I'll write dot slash test and I'll write just TE and I'll press the tab. So it will autofill this particular name. I'll press the enter, you see. I'll get hello world as the output. So this black screen that you are seeing over here, this screen is a terminal because I'm using a Mac. So I use terminal. When you will be on Windows, you'll use something which is called as CMD, or you can use Window PowerShell, both the things, anything you can use. So you will be using PowerShell and that will become your console, or if you use CMD, that will become your console. I'm using terminal. So this is the console for me right now. So this prints hello world on the console. Right. So see, I have said that print hello world on the console. So it has printed the hello world on console. And we have something which is called as a new line, right? All right. So you want to know about the process to run this particular code. You are not able to get how to run this code. Okay. See, console means that the place where user can see the output. That is called as console. And in our case, for MacBook, if you are using a Mac, then the terminal will become your console. You need to open the terminal. So what I'll do, see, I'm in this particular place. If you'll type ls, so this will show you which all files are available. Ls means list. List all the files which are available in the current directory. So when I press ls, it shows me all the files which are available. Now I have saved the file at this particular place inside classes. I have saved this file. There is some location, right, where you go and save your file. So if I'll show you that, see, inside the C++ fundamentals, I have created a classes folder. Inside classes folder, I have lecture one. Right. So this is the place where I have saved this file. So which is fine. I have saved this file. So the file is saved at its place where I wanted to. Next thing, I need to go to that particular place via my terminal. So I can use CD. So CD means current directory. You can change the current directory. So right now I am in C++ fundamentals. You might be on desktop, or you might be in C drive. It can be anything. So what you need to do, you need to type the name of the folder in which you want to go. So you can go into a folder. You cannot go inside a file. CD works on folder. So I'll write CD and I'll write classes and I'll press tab. So it will autofill it. So inside classes, I need to go to lecture one. That's it. I want to go into the lecture one directory. I'll go into that directory, and when I list it, you can see I have two files over here, test.cpp and test. Right. So what will happen now? I need to run this particular file which I have created. For that, I need to build it first. I'll press Command B. So once I'll press Command B, the next thing that I need to do, I need to write dot slash the name of the file that I want to run. So that will be test. So this is printing hello world on console. This black screen where I can see the output is called as console. This is the file which I have created. This is a text file. You can see test.cpp. This is must. Whenever you save file, you need to write the name of the file. I can write it hello world. Let's say I'll rename it to hello world. Then .cpp extension is must. because we are writing the C++ programming code. We need to save it by .cpp extension. This is must. Otherwise, your code will not work. First of all, save the file, then write the code. So I'll save it by hello world.cpp. I'll save it. So see, the name of the file has changed. Now if I'll go over here, I'll list the file. See, you can see there is one hello world, there is test, there are two test files. So that's fine. Now test is not of any use for us, so let it be there. Now I'll build it. I'll press Command B in Mac to build it. So now see, this file has been converted into a binary file which we can run, or an executable file which we can run. If I'll go to the same place and list it, so see, now I have two hello world. Why this one, this hello world is the executable file which have just got created, and this is what I can run. All right, so hello world is the file which I'll run. So how I'll run? I'll write dot slash, I'll press tab. After writing HE, just write the initials of the name and then press tab. It will autofill it. I'll run it. So see, this is printing hello world. No, I would recommend go for code blocks or go for Sublime Text. Don't go for any other text editor. No, don't go. Why do you want to complicate things for yourself? Because the text editor that you're using will, it should be a text editor in which you can, learn other things as well. So Sublime Text would be the best text editor, or code blocks will be the best to start with if you don't have any compiler yet. Every time we will have a file and I want to run it, there will be an executable file which will get created, and that executable file is what I'll run. Visual Studio is also fine. You can run it, but I won't be sharing the PDF how to install VS Code. I'll just share how to install Sublime Text, and that will work. I have told you how to install code blocks. You can go with code blocks as well. So all right, up this program, is this program clear to all? ये program सबको clear है? Simple सी चीज है. Is this program clear now? I won't recommend going for Xcode. Don't. If you are already coding in it, then it's fine. But not, then you can choose some other text editor. I personally don't like it. So, ठीक है, चलो. That is good. अब हम आगे चलते हैं. In Mac, to install any text editor or any compiler, you would need Xcode. Without Xcode, it won't run anything. You need to install the Xcode first. That is fine. Like, you can do that. The free का internet बढ़ता है तो करो. ठीक है. So this is how we run it. Now, see, there is something we have printed on console. Now, user might want to give input to this program. Right. So let's say I want to print two strings. I want to print two names. I want to print my name as well. So now what will happen? Let's see. I'll write hello world. And I'll run it. So what is happening? It is printing hello world. Then immediately after that, it is printing my name. But what if I want to print my name in another line? I want to print it like this, hello world. And I want to print my name in another line. So how can I do it? So see, I have printed two things, which is my hello world string and my name. So to go to the next line from this particular place, there is a special character that needs to be printed, which is \n. This is to go to new line. If you want to go to a new line, you print \n. So to print \n, it is quite obvious what we need to do. We need to write cout \n. I'll build it. So let's see what happens now. See, this is printing hello world in the first line and my name in the next line. So to go to the next line, we need to print this \n. And similarly, I can print \n after my name as well. Right? I can press enter, right? Backslash n means you are pressing enter. So now what's happening? See, it is printing my name and it is printing the string as well. Hello world. Then in the next line, it is printing uh, my name. Now, see, I have written these four statements in separate lines. First of all, I have asked the system to print hello world, then print backslash n, then print my name, then print again the backslash n. So there is another way to do this thing, alternative way to do this thing. I can do it in this manner. I'll say that print hello world first. After that, I can basically write all these statements in a single line of cout. If you want to print multiple things, you can simply write it in this particular manner. So I'll write backslash n, print karo, then print my name, then again print backslash n. So this is how I can replace these four statements into a single statement. So this thing is writing this particular one single statement is easier. Why? I don't have to write cout again and again. I need to write cout once and it will print all the things which are available inside this particular line. तो ये cout सारी strings को और characters को print कर देगा एक ही साथ. Right? So backslash n prints the endl and this prints it this way. तो ये हमारी चीज बिल्कुल सही है ना? तो ये easy हो गया ना काम करना. Now the way is easy. Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. That is basically a string. So now we have seen how to print something. So we'll move forward and we'll be seeing other examples as well in which you will understand this thing in a better way. Now let's move on to the next step. That is how to take input. So I'll create one file input. So see, there is an alternative for backslash n. तो बताएगा मुझे क्या होता है. What is an alternative for backslash n? Backslash n का alternative क्या होता है? Endl होता है. Right. So if you are writing backslash n or you are writing cout endl, both the things are same. Right. So backslash n is equals to endl. Endl means end of line. Just simply end this line and go to next line. Endl means this. Because writing a string is easier compared to writing quotes, then backslash, then n. That's why we have an alternative for writing backslash n. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take input. To take input from a user. So I'll just bring this statement over here. Now we want to take input. So for input, we used to write it in this particular manner. Read A. I don't want to do it this way. What I want to do, I want to do it in a programming language. So to read something, we use scene. This means take input from console. Console से input ले लो. Take input from console या console से input ले लो. This is the syntax. अब I have told you that whenever we take an input from the user, so we need to create a bucket first. So what I'll do, I'll create an integer bucket first. मतलब ठीक है, थोड़े लोग हिंदी के फेवर में, थोड़े इंग्लिश के में, तो इट्स रियली मतलब कॉम्प्लिकेटेड कि मतलब इंग्लिश वालों को हिंदी समझाई जाए. आप मतलब हिंदी वाले तो इंग्लिश समझ ही जाओगे. चलो, we have created a bucket with the name A. Right, so the name of this bucket is A and this is of type integer. I have told you what all data types are available with us. So I have created a bucket A and I want to store something inside it. So I'll store the bucket with the value 10 because 10 is an integer. So now this bucket will have a value 10. So see, now we need to create a bucket first. This is how we need to create a bucket. Create a bucket or variable to take input from the user. Now I have created a bucket. Now to take input, what I'll use C. Okay. So we are asking user to input the value of A. Right? So we have taken the bucket input. Now what I'll do, I'll simply print this bucket. And I'll print one more thing, that is value, whatever the value is given by the user to us of A. Value of A is whatever the value which user has given me as the input. So I'll remove this handle because I am printing handle at the end. So all right, let's see how it is going to work. So I'll write, sorry, dot slash is important. I'll take input. So now see, the program is not running. The program is waiting for me to provide input to it. Why? Because whenever we use scene, this means it is waiting for the user till the time user is not going to give the value of this bucket A. It will keep on waiting. See, it is not moving forward, right? So the program execution, when the program starts the running part, it starts from the main. The first thing it does, it creates a bucket with the name A. Next thing it does, it is waiting for the user to provide the value of the A. So what happens next? हमने A की वैल्यू देनी है. अब हमने तो दी नहीं, यहाँ से मैं तो रुका हुआ हूँ, मैं मेरा मन नहीं हो रहा देने का. तो अब मेरा मन नहीं है देने का, तो प्रोग्राम भी आगे नहीं बढ़ेगा. So now what we need to do, because the program is not going to move forward till the time I won't provide the value. So we need to give some value. Let's say I'll give 10. Then I'll press enter because I have inputted some value. So I'll press enter after that. So you see it prints that value of A, जो user ने दी. The value of A which was given by the user is 10. So this prints the value of A. This is how we take an input, and this is how basically we print it. So I think this thing is clear. This is the format. This is the syntax to run this file, right? If you want to run a file, then you need to use it. Nothing on that thing, it's fine. Sorry, this will not be dot A, this will be simply A. That was syntax error. I'll write 10 and it's working fine. There won't be a dot at this place. No, there won't be a dot. All right, so we have done this. Now there is something which is called as identifier. See, when we create a bucket, I create an integer bucket int A. So this is the name of the bucket. This is called as identifier. There is a syntax through which, or there are rules through which you need to create the name of this bucket. The identifier can start from alphabet. It can start from underscore. It can start. So I can create a bucket like ABC. I can create a bucket like underscore AB. Right? I can create a bucket like A1. But I cannot create a bucket like this, int 1A. The bucket name cannot start from a digit. This is the wrong way to use it. Yes, everything will be done, and don't worry about it. All right, so this is how we simply create a bucket. We need to write the name, but the name has certain rules that we need to follow. So we cannot start it with a digit. We can start with a character, or we can start it with an underscore. Okay, so let's move forward. So these are keywords, data types we have seen. These are the data types which are present over here. So see, now there are questions that why we don't use Turbo C++. See, in Turbo C++, the bucket integer, when we create a bucket A, there is a size, right? There is a size of this bucket, that what is the maximum value and what is the minimum value that I can store inside it. So let's say I have created an integer bucket. So now let's see that is it possible for me to create a bucket and store 100 in it? Is it possible for me to store a value 10 raised to the power 6 in it? Can I store 10 raised to the power 9 in it? Can I store 10 raised to the power 18 in it? So who will tell this particular thing? There must be some rules when we create a bucket. there must be certain size which is defined, because I cannot store infinite value inside this bucket. Right? There is certain limit. So see, the integer bucket that we create is of 4 bytes in the new compilers that we use. So integer bucket is of 4 bytes, but in Turbo C, integer bucket is of 2 bytes. This is not used nowadays. This is something which was used earlier, but this is not something that we use now. Right? So integer bucket is of 4 bytes. 4 bytes means there is a single bit, right? There is 8 bits comprises of 1 byte. So 1 byte is equals to equivalent to 8 bits. What is the next thing? We have these 4 bytes, or 4 bytes is equivalent to 32 bits. Right? So next thing is we have 32 bits. So when you create an integer bucket, there are 32 bits. So that means you can store at max 32 ones and zeros. Right? So there is a certain range. So I won't be going into much depth of it. So if let's say there are some bits, 32 bits. So the maximum value that we can store is 2 raised to the power 32 minus 1, and minimum value that we can store is 0. You can remember this for now. We will be seeing the details of these things later on, but right now you can remember that if there are 32 bits, we can go 2 raised to the power bits minus 1 and 0. When we create something that can store only positive numbers. If your bucket can only contain positive numbers, then this is the case. But I have a bucket that can store negative numbers as well, because if you create an integer bucket and you will add a value of minus 10, it won't say that I'm not going to store it. It will store it. So for positive numbers only, this is the range. Right? For negative numbers, and this is applicable for every bucket, right? So for negative numbers, if I have bits, right? So integer bucket is of 32 bits. So this 1 bit does not contribute in magnitude. So this bit denotes sign in this case. So the magnitude is denoted by 31 bits only. So in this case, when we can store positive numbers as well as negative numbers, so the range becomes minus 2 raised to the power 31 till 2 raised to the power 31 minus 1. You can remember it right now. I won't be going into the detail of these things. That is something which you can read. But if needed, we can take a class for these things as well. But right now, we won't be doing it. That thing. So that means minus 2 raised to the power bits minus 1 to 2 raised to the power bits minus 1 minus 1. Right? This bits minus 1 is in power. This is the range if we can store positive as well as negative numbers. Right? So this is the basic way through which we work. Right? So this is Boolean, character, integer, floating, double. These are the data types. So see, the sizes of the data types is integer is of 4 bytes, character is of 1 byte, float, it can store decimal values, so it is of 4 bytes, bool, it is of 1 byte, and we have double. Double is of 8 bytes. These are the sizes of the data types in C++. Right? So these are the sizes and these are the limits. So you can, remember it. For negative numbers, if a bucket is of 32 bits, then the range becomes this. Right now, you don't go like how we can store a very large number, how to do it. We will see step by step. We cannot do everything instantaneously. It takes time. to learn these things. Right now, just understand these are the ways through which the integer bucket can store the value. So if it can store only positive numbers, if I'll put a constraint that negative numbers are not allowed, then this will be the range. If I'll say that negative numbers are allowed as well inside an integer bucket, then this will be the range. All right. Yeah. So we will see everything. Don't worry. एक एक करके ही देखेंगे, एक साथ तो नहीं भाग सकते. अब आते हैं डेटा मॉडिफायर्स. तो डेटा मॉडिफायर्स पे हम चलेंगे, अभी के लिए यूज नहीं होंगे. लेट्स मूव ऑन टुवर्ड सम कोडिंग पार्ट. अभी हमने आज कोड्स पे चलते हैं ना, थोड़ा कोड वाली चीजें करें. तो अब एक काम करते हैं, हमने पिछली बार एक काम किया था सिंपल इंटरेस्ट प्रिंट करने का. So let's write a code to print simple interest. So see, the basic code will remain same. So I'll write simple interest. एक एक करके सारी चीज देखेंगे, कुछ छोड़ेंगे नहीं, डोंट वरी, बट स्टेप बाय स्टेप चलते हैं, राइट. तो मतलब कोड लिखने का तो मन होता ही है जब पहली बार कोडिंग करने को मिलती है. सो लेट्स सी हाउ वी कैन राइट कोड फॉर फाइंडिंग आउट द सिंपल इंटरेस्ट. सी, द सिंपल इंटरेस्ट फॉर्मूला इज वेरी सिंपल. SI is equals to P into R into T upon 100. This is the formula for simple interest. Assume करो कि ये P, R, T, all of them are integers, and we need to calculate simple interest for it. Let us see how we can write the code for it. Right. So I'll create 3 buckets: int P, R, T. If you want to create 3 buckets of same type, you can denote it in this particular way. Int P, comma R, comma T. This will work fine. Next thing, we have created these 3 buckets. Now I want to take input of it: P, R, and T. Right. Next thing is we need to print simple interest. So to print it, we need to calculate it first. So I'll write float SI, simple interest, is equals to P into R into T. I can use a bracket, right? Divide by 100. So see, this thing, what I have done over here, this is called as initialization. I have explained it in the earlier class as well. While creating the bucket, if I assign value to it, it is called as initialization. If I have a bucket and then I assign value to it, that is assignment, right? So that is clear, right? So I am creating a bucket, float SI, and while creating it, I have assigned value to it. So I am initializing the SI bucket, initialization of SI. I need to print it. सिंपल है. ये कोड जो हमने करा, ये समझ आया सबको कि what we have done over here, and we have stored the value and then we have printed. Not that tough, easy है. बताओ कैसा है, मतलब easy है ना, मतलब समझ आ रही है चीजें. Is this thing easy that we are simply taking input and we are printing it? All right, so someone have asked that why are we using float? Okay, so see, this particular thing, let's say if P is 1, R is 2, T is 10, so the output would be 0.2. We need output as 0.2, right? So this is a floating point value. So to store a floating point value, we need a float bucket. That's why we have used it. That's why we have created it as a float bucket. ठीक है, तो float bucket हमारी floating value store करती है. That's why I have created a float bucket instead of an integer bucket. तो ये लॉजिक वाली चीज पे बेस्ड है. आपका आउटपुट, अगर मान लो आप बोलते हो मुझे कैरेक्टर स्टोर करना है ए, तो वो कैर में जाएगा. इसी तरह से इंटीजर होता तो वो इंटीजर में चला जाएगा. बट व्हाट इफ दैट वैल्यू इज अ फ्लोटिंग पॉइंट वैल्यू? It needs to go into a floating bucket variable only, right? That is the must. All right, so we have printed the simple interest in this case. Fine. चलो ये वाली चीज तो हमारी सही होगी, सिंपल इंटरेस्ट हमने प्रिंट कर. Now let's see whether it works as we expect or not. For PRT to be 1, if P is 1, R is 2, and T is basically 10. So the output should be 0.2. But let us see whether this gives us the correct output or not. Uh, I'll build it. Then I'll write simple interest. So see, T is 1, R is 2, T is 10. But this is giving us output as 0. It's not giving us output of 0.2. So there is some mistake or there is some confusion that is over here and we are not able to understand. So see, P into R into T upon 100. This 100 is an integer value. P, R, T, these are also integer values. So integer into integer into integer. This is going to give me integer value only. Right? And I have divided this by an integer value itself. So when I'll write int upon int, this is going to give me an integer output only. Right? So int upon int, मुझे एक integer ही देगा. There is certain precedence of data types. Right? There is a precedence of data type. सबसे ज्यादा precedence होती है float की. Then we have precedence of int. Then we have of character. Then we have bool. So this is the increasing order of precedence. Right? So now what is going to happen in this case? See. So float has the maximum precedence, bool have the minimum precedence. So if you write int upon float, तो जिसकी प्रेसिडेंस ज्यादा होगी अगर वो अवेलेबल है तो आउटपुट में हमें फ्लोट मिलेगा. If I'll write float upon int, the output will be float. But if I'll write int upon int, then the output will be integer value only. So what I have done right now, 2 into 10 is 20. So 20 upon 100, the output will be integer value, right? So this is equal to 0.2. But because the floating point value will be ignored, so this will be giving me the output as 0. So 20 upon 100 is going to give you output as 0. So let us see whether this is correct or not, whatever we are assuming. So let's see out 20 upon 100. I'll build it. So see, 20 upon 100 is giving me 0. Why? Because int upon int is 0. Right? Int upon int is an integer only. So that is fine. ठीक है ना? तो देखो हमने ये वाली चीज तो समझ ली. अब नेक्स्ट चीज हमारी इसमें क्या आती है वो समझते हैं. हाउ टू करेक्ट दिस थिंग. तो क्या आप लोग अब इस वाले कॉन्सेप्ट को यूज करके बता सकते हो कि ठीक कैसे होगी चीज. हाउ कैन आई करेक्ट दिस थिंग that this is giving me an integer value. So see, 20 upon 100 is going to give me 0. I have written like this: float si is equals to 20 upon 100. Right? This is the final statement which is getting executed. Why? Because p into r into t upon 100. This is what we have done. P is 1, r is 2, t is 10. So what happens? This is going to give me 20 upon 100. So 20 upon 100, this bucket have integer upon integer, right? 20 is integer, 100 is integer. So this is going to give me an output of integer only. So because the output is 0, this expression gets evaluated to 0. So in simple interest also, this will store the value of 0. Now how can we correct it? Either we can make the upper part as float or we can make the lower part as float. So very good, Bhagwat and प्रांशु कुमार सिंह. बिल्कुल सही जवाब. मतलब आप लोगों को मतलब 1 करोड़ रुपए मिलते हैं. तो ठीक है, तो हम नीचे फ्लोटिंग वैल्यू बना देते हैं. ठीक है ना. तो हमारी ये अगर फ्लोट हो जाएगी नीचे, so that means we have done this particular thing. P into R into T, these are integer buckets. So this will give me an integer only. If I write integer upon 100.0. So this is giving me integer upon float. So int upon float. The output will come out to be float. Right, so if I'll write 20 upon 100.0, so this is going to give me 0.2. int upon float का सारा चक्कर है किसकी प्रेसिडेंस ज्यादा होती है. तो मैं एक काम करता हूँ, I'll show you. See out 20 upon 100.0. I'll print it now. Let's see what is the output. So 0.2 आ रहा है. But if I'll remove this float point, so output will come out to be integer. The output is integer now. So this is the difference between int upon float. This is how we can correct this particular thing. I'll write 0.0. That's the simple thing. Divided by a float instead of dividing it by an integer. And store the floating output into a floating bucket. This is the common logic which we have used over here. So I'll write simple interest and I'll write 1, 2, 10. So this will be 20 upon 100 and output is 0.2. This is giving us the correct answer now. Right? ठीक है, हाँ वो भी कर सकते हैं, but I don't want to make PRT as float because time मतलब मैं नहीं चाहता floating में हो. टाइम ऐसी होगा ना 5 years है ना, तो मतलब मैं मान रहा हूँ इंटीजर है, but if these are integers and I want to correct it, then I'll divide it by a float. Or if you'll make these as float, then also it will work. ठीक है, so this is the basic concept behind it and we have seen this thing. ये हम अगली क्लास में पढ़ेंगे. ठीक है, चलो हम आगे चलते हैं. नेक्स्ट जो हमारे प्रोग्राम्स हैं वो है बेसिकली एक और प्रोग्राम हम देखेंगे विच इज इफ एल्स कंडीशन के ऊपर. इफ एल्स कंडीशन कैसे वर्क करती है वो देखेंगे एंड देन आई विल गिव यू सम होमवर्क व्हिच यू नीड टू डू. राइट, सो वी हैव इफ एल्स कंडीशंस. See, the in previous class we have done something which is using conditionals or decision block, right? So this decision block which we used in the previous statement, so there was some condition. If this condition is true, then we did some task. If this condition is not true, then we did some other task 2. So based upon the condition or output or decision changed, the same way this condition we can replicate this thing using if block. So we will use this if and we write condition over here. If this condition is true, if it says yes, then we execute the statement whatever it is written inside this if block. And if this condition is false, if it says no, then we execute whatever is written inside this else block. Right, this flow chart can be represented in programming language using if else conditions, so which is quite easy. Relate करना आसान है. अब हम एक काम करते हैं. Let's say if the bucket value of a is greater than 0, then print hello. If it's not greater than 0, then print. If a is less than equals to 0, then print world. We need to do this task. So this task is quite easy, right? So let us see how we can do it. .cpp से सेव करना जरूरी है. मैंने ये लिखा, I'll create a bucket int a, I'll take input of this bucket a, then I'll write if, I'll write the condition a is greater than 0, then we need to do some task. कर्ली ब्रेसेस हमें लगाने पड़ते हैं. These curly braces denotes जो हमारी बेसिकली चीजें हैं जो if की कंडीशन के ट्रू होने पर चलेंगी, वो भी write over here. So I can write cout hello. This is what we have decided that we will do, and I'll print endl over here. Else I'll write cout, then we'll print world. Right, अगर मतलब a अगर 0 से बड़ा नहीं है, then it will be less than equals to 0 obviously, then it will print world in it. So let us see whether this works or not. देखते हैं. So if I'll give a as 10, so it will print hello. If I'll give a as 11, it will print hello. If I'll give a as 0, so it will print world, because a is not greater than 0 in this case, right? So similarly, if I'll give -1, it will print world. So based upon the condition, what will be the output is decided. So that is how we can implement if else block. Else is optional. I am not, this thing is optional. If you don't want to do anything, let's say if it's raining, then take an umbrella. If not, don't do anything. So only if block can be written as well. This thing is optional. Yeah, if you want to print a single character, we will use a single comma, right? Single quote. Basically, we call it as a single quote. So see, this is fine. So let us run this. If a is greater than 0, let's say 10, it prints hello. But if it is not greater than 0, it doesn't do anything. It does not print anything. Simple. If it's -1, it will not do anything. But if it is greater than 0, it will print hello. So else is optional. If is mandatory. Without if, else block cannot exist. But without else, if block can exist. So this is how if else condition works. Now हमने ये चीज देखी, ठीक है. अब हमारे पास ना if else का ladder भी होता है. देखो, if else ladder works in this way. Let's say अगर मैं a पे constraint लगाना चाहता हूँ, a अगर 10 से बड़ा है और 20 से छोटा है, तो प्रिंट करो हेलो, है ना. अगर ये 20 से 30 के बीच में, तो हम else if में कंडीशन लिखेंगे कि प्रिंट करो हेलो वर्ल्ड. अगर इनमें से कोई भी कंडीशन ट्रू नहीं है, तो प्रिंट करो वेलकम टू कोडिंग ब्लॉक्स. ठीक है, तो मतलब तुम डाल देना एक ही वैल्यू 30 से ऊपर, तो यहाँ पे आ जाओगे. So this is how basically if else if ladder works. So we can add multiple conditions over here. So this was if else. If I want to write if a is greater than 0 and a is less than 10, let's say. So see out. किसी का नाम hello बोल देते हैं. Else if a is greater than equals to 10 and a is less than 20. I can write anything, whatever condition I want. So see out Harry Potter. Okay. Else see out random. Try again. I can do it this way. Let's see whether it works or not. I'll give it as 5. So hello आया. I'll give it as 15. So Harry Potter आया. I'll give it as 100. So random. Try again. Right? So this is the if else if block. There's nothing as such which is complicated in this. First of all, write the condition over here. So now what happens? We have written something like this. If. So there is some condition. Then we have else if. There is condition 2. Then we have else. So see, we can write multiple else if. You can insert more else if you want in middle. You can write more else if. That's fine. So now what happens? See, if this condition is true, these statements will get executed and rest of the things will not get executed in this case. Those things will get ignored. But if this condition is false, so in this case, what will happen? It will check this condition. Right? It will check this condition. Now, if this condition is true, it will run these statements. But if this condition becomes false, it will go to the else block. ये कहता है if में जो लिखा है ये ट्राई करो, सही है तो if का रन कर दो, नहीं तो else if में चलो. इसकी कंडीशन ट्राई करो, सही है तो ये रन कर दो, नहीं तो else में जो भी लिखा है वो रन कर दो. This is how it works. So right now, if a is between 0 and 10, so print hello. तो हेलो आता है ना, बाकी की चीजें तो नहीं आती। यहाँ पे जब हमने करा a is between 10 and 0 and 10, तो 5, तो it printed hello. हैरी पॉटर एंड रैंडम ट्राई अगेन नहीं प्रिंट हुआ. Similarly, we checked it for this particular statement 10 and 20. So it printed Harry Potter. If the condition is true, A lies between this range, it will print Harry Potter. Otherwise, if this condition is also false, then it will print whatever you have written inside the else block, which is try again. So this is simply how we can do it. So we will do the looping part in the next class. Till the time, I would recommend that all of you install Sublime Text. सब लोग अपने Sublime Text install करो. And these are the operators. So I'll explain these operators right now because these are something which will be used. So let us see. छोटी सी चीज है 2 मिनट की. Nothing as such which is very complicated. See, when we create a bucket int a, there is a bucket a with the type int. Do we know the value? What is stored inside this bucket? Do we know the value? No, we don't have any idea about the value, right? So what happens in this case? There is a value which is called as garbage value. So whatever is stored inside this bucket, I have not stored anything in it. So initially when you create something and you have not assigned value to it, so it gets assigned to a garbage value. So we don't want something like garbage value. So what we do, when we create a bucket, we can assign the value 0 to it. Now it will have 0. Now no garbage. Garbage can be anything. You cannot predict what garbage is going to be. It can be anything. Right? So make sure that we use it this way. Right? Yeah. So in this, else statement is the last statement. Last statement is else. Else if comes in middle. Else if comes in middle. And if is the first statement. First statement is if. Without if, you cannot write if else if statement. Else if comes in middle and else comes in the last. These two are optional. If you want to write it, write them. If you don't want to write it, then it's fine. Multiple else if हो सकते हैं. Multiple else if आप पूछ रहे हो तो जैसे मैं यहाँ पे लिख देता हूँ else if a is greater than equals to 20 and a is less than 30. See out. Wrong. So you can write multiple else if conditions in this way. That is fine, right? So if I'll give a between 20 and so it prints wrong. So that is fine. Multiple else if can be there. These are optionals, right? If you want to write them, write it. If you don't want to write them, ignore it. It's fine. Now the very, very common thing. What are unary operators? You guys tell me. Unary operator क्या होते हैं? Where have you seen the unary operators? Last else is optional, yeah. Yes, when can't, I have written na. This else is optional. Both else if and else, these are optionals. So if you want to write else if, it will come in middle. If you don't want to write it, it's fine. You can skip any of these two. That uses single operand, right? So see, when we write a plus b, so these are basically operands, a and b. So these operands are connected via operators. So if there is a single operand, for single operand, we use unary operator. So you must have seen this thing, +5, -5, which denotes magnitude. These are unary operators. That works on a single operand. We have arithmetic operators, a plus b, a minus b, a divide by b. You use them. This is just a terminology. A modulus b, so 5. If I'll take a mod of 7 with 5, so it will give me output 2. It gives remainder, which is fine. Next is assignment equals to brackets. You know about them. Relational operator always give you result in true or false form. Relational operators. You guys tell me 5 is equals to 5. What is the output? Obviously, you would say this thing is true. To compare two things, we use equals to equals to. We can use not equals to. 5 is not equals to 5. Obviously, this thing is false. 5 is equals to 5. 5. So this is going to give me output of false. I can write 5 is greater than 2. This is going to give me true. 5 is greater than equals to 2. This is going to give me true. So this is greater than equals to, greater than, less than equals to, less than. There are multiple operators which you can use, right? So these are the operators that you need to know. And there are logical operators, very common thing. If you want to compare two conditions, so if you use and, so this means if you have the condition 1 over here and condition 2 over here, if you want the output to be true, then both the statements should be true. If you are using and, then only you will get true. If you have true and false, output would be false. If you have false and true, the output would be false. If you have false and false, the output will be false. This is how logical and operator works. तो true को अगर आप and करते हो true के साथ तभी true मिलेगा, otherwise नहीं मिलेगा. Similarly, we have or. So condition 1 और condition 2. और मतलब दोनों में से एक भी हो जाए तो चलेगा काम. So true or true, this is going to give me true. True or false, this is going to give me true. False or true, this is going to give me true. False or false is going to give me false. So ये working होती है, मतलब कुछ मुश्किल नहीं है. Like we have seen over here, we have used and. So and means a should be greater than 0 and it should be less than 10. Both the conditions should be true. So similarly, we have used or, we have used and. So this is something which is very common, right? Please explain this operator. We will do everything, don't worry. मतलब एक एक करके स्टेप बाय स्टेप चल सकते हैं ना, एकदम सारी चीजें नहीं. तो अभी के लिए कंडीशनल्स पढ़ लिए हमने. अब नेक्स्ट क्लास में हमारी लूपिंग वगैरह शुरू हो जाएगी. तो वी विल सी द क्वेश्चंस ऑन लूप्स, पैटर्न्स कैसे बनते हैं, वो क्वेश्चंस हम करेंगे. सो दैट्स इट फॉर टुडे. I will be available on Discord. If you have any doubt, you can ask it on Discord. I am there with my team, so my team will also help you out if you have any query. And मैं भी वहाँ पे रिप्लाई कर रहा होता हूँ. ठीक है, सारी चीजें करेंगे. ऑपरेटर क्वेश्चन मार्क वाला भी पढ़ेंगे. ठीक है, तो अभी के लिए तो मतलब बहुत बेसिक सी चीजें ये हैं आपके होमवर्क में. इंस्टॉल द एडिटर इन योर सिस्टम. टेक्स्ट एडिटर इंस्टॉल करो, कंपाइलर इंस्टॉल करो, एंड if you want you can explore while loop, right? So you can note down these questions. बहुत basic questions है, not मतलब ऐसा नहीं है कि बहुत अच्छे questions है. Take an input. I'm writing homework over here itself. Take an input, print even or odd. On n. तो अगर n इवन है तो इवन, ऑड है तो ऑड. ये प्रिंट कर सकते हो. ठीक है. सेकेंड, write a program to, I'll do one thing, I'll share the PDF of these question on Discord as well. मतलब बार बार आपको यहाँ पे आके देखने पड़ेंगे. I'll share the homework on Discord. ठीक है, तो ऐसे ही क्वेश्चन होंगे बहुत सिंपल से. मतलब अभी ये मत एक्सपेक्ट करना कि पहले दिन में तो मतलब कोडिंग के एकदम बादशाह बन जाओगे, एकदम सरताज बादशाह, कोई हाथ भी नहीं पकड़ सकता कोडिंग में. ऐसा नहीं होगा, थोड़ा टाइम लगेगा. इट इज गोइंग टू टेक सम टाइम, राइट? या, सो जिनका फर्स्ट डे, आई एम शेयरिंग द लिंक ऑफ द डिस्कॉर्ड, सो डोंट वरी, मतलब कर रहे हैं शेयर. दिस इज द लिंक टू डिस्कॉर्ड. And I have created GitHub account as well. तो जहाँ पे हमने कोड करे हैं वो भी आपको मिल जाएंगे। अभी मैं बता रहा हूँ गिटहब का भी। So I have created GitHub account over here. So you can go and you can get the code from this URL. This is the URL. Okay, this is my GitHub profile, and in this I have created a repository cpp_yt. You can go and you can get the GitHub code from here. Yeah, I have shared the GitHub link as well. So both the links I have shared both the links with you. You can go over here and अभी मैं GitHub पे भी कोड डाल देता हूँ सारे जो हमने करे हैं। चलो मैं ये प्रोफाइल पे चले जाओ। यू विल गेट द कोड ओवर हेयर। मतलब शायद नेट का इशू कुछ हो, मतलब देखना पड़ेगा मुझे क्या इशू आ रहा है, व्हाई इट्स नॉट एबल टू। यहाँ पे आपको सारे कोड्स मिल जाएंगे। यू नीड टू जस्ट नोट डाउन दिस पर्टिकुलर URL, दैट्स इट, और कुछ नहीं करना। राइट मेरा अपॉइंटमेंट मिल सकता है मतलब क्यों भाई? मैं मतलब क्या कोई दवाई ववाई लेके जाने चाहते हो क्या मेरे से? मतलब अपॉइंटमेंट ऐसे बोल रहे हो? डिस्कॉर्ड का लिंक मैंने शेयर कर दिया है। आई शोकेस इट ऑन द स्क्रीन, तो आप स्क्रीन पे देख सकते हो डिस्कॉर्ड का लिंक। ठीक है, तो चलो आई डू इट, मैं आपके साथ शेयर कर दूंगा। आपने वो चीजें कर ली हैं या रिटर्न 0 इज नेसेसरी? देखते हैं, मतलब अब आगे चल के धीरे धीरे सारी चीजों को एक्सप्लोर करेंगे। तो चलो थैंक यू, आई थिंक मजा आया होगा। बता दो कैसी रही आपकी आज पहली प्रोग्रामिंग की क्लास। जो फर्स्ट टाइम सीख रहे हैं उनको कैसा लगा? मतलब ऑनलाइन में दिक्कत तो नहीं हो रही? मतलब समझ आ रहा है सबको सही? PDF आएगी डिस्कॉर्ड पे, एवरीथिंग विल बी देयर। चलो दैट इज ग्रेट। आज बहुत बेसिक बेसिक चीजें थी। ठीक है, तो मतलब आप वीडियो देख सकते हो जिसको कुछ समझ नहीं आया, एंड नेक्स्ट क्लास में मतलब आप डिस्कॉर्ड पे पूछ सकते हो अपने डाउट्स वगैरह। तो चलो गाइस, बाय बाय, टेक केयर, ऑल द बेस्ट, मतलब अपनी प्रोग्रामिंग की जर्नी के लिए। चलो वी विल मीट अगेन वेरी सून। बाय बाय।